Hey, well, this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. And I thank you for tuning in. And those coming in for the first time, I thank you. Well, on today's episode is entitled The Dream of King Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar was a Babylonian king in the Old Testament times. Nebuchadnezzar was a warrior king, often described as the greatest military leader of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. He ruled from 605 to 562 BCE in the area around the Tigris-Euphrates basin. His leadership saw numerous military successes, construction of buildings, works such as the famous Istar Gate. Now let's get into his dream. And now, King Nebuchadnezzar had many dreams, and during his second reign, the second year as emperor, as king of Babylon, this dream stood out to him the most out of all his dreams. King Nebuchadnezzar had many dreams, and during his second reign, the second year as emperor, as king. Let's turn to a scripture. Daniel chapter 2, verses 1. In the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar had a troubled dream during his second year of reign. And he had many dreams, but this one took a serious thought. And it was a deep dream. And he could not understand the dream as he got up from sleep. And King Nebuchadnezzar wanted answers, and he wanted it fast. He could not let another day go by without him getting answers about his dream. And so he was thinking and puzzling about it. So he summoned his sorcerers, his musicians, to get them into the room quickly to figure out his dream. And according to the scriptures, King Nebuchadnezzar's dream was about a 90 feet tall statue. 90 feet, 90-foot tall statue that he dreamt about. The statue, it was so tall that it was frightening. 90 foot tall, 90 feet tall statue. And King Nebuchadnezzar said this statue had like all types of 90 foot long statue, feet tall statue that he could not get out of his mind. And the statue was so wide, extremely wide and tall as ever to the skies, to the heavens. And it was near the city of Babylon. And he just could not, in his dreams, he just couldn't get his eyes off of how tall this statue is. It had the head was gold, the chest was silver, and that's all he could have made out of it. And then he tried to describe the other areas of the statue to the musicians, but he wanted them to figure it out, and he was getting very impatient with the people that he summons. And in the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verses 3, King Nebuchadnezzar summons musicians, enchanters, sorcerers, astrologers to interpret his dream. And in the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verses 5, and as King Nebuchadnezzar got more frustrated because none of the people that he summons could interpret the dream, he threatened the interpreters by being and told them that he's going to tear them limb by limb and destroying their homes. They will be destroyed if they did not interpret his dream. You see, as King Nebuchadnezzar reigned over Babylon, He ruled with an iron fist, and his army was great, and the city was a striving city in Babylon. And with King Nebuchadnezzar's rule, the city was able to prosper with King Nebuchadnezzar's rule. You see, as King Nebuchadnezzar, and according to the book of Daniel, um, King Nebuchadnezzar got young Daniel to interpret his dream by having Daniel brought before him as a part of the group of wine men, the musicians, when the king was disruptedly seeking an interpretation for a troubling dream he couldn't remember. And only Daniel was able to correctly interpret it through divine revelation, thus gaining the king's favor and position of high authority in Babylonian court. Now, young Daniel was following God, and along with his friends Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And when young Daniel was able to interpret, break down the dream, and to King Nebuchadnezzar was impressed, was really impressed at how young Daniel, what these among these older scholars and these older musicians and sorcerers is able to interpret King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Now, as young Daniel began to speak, the, the king was listening closely, because if young Daniel did not interpret the dream, just like he was going to punish young Daniel and and the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, his companions, the same way how he's going to punish his wise men and the interpreters who could not figure out the dream. And the musicians were trying to tell King Nebuchadnezzar that he could not figure this dream out. So as young Daniel began to speak, now young Daniel interpreted King Nebuchadnezzar's dreams, explaining that the first dream about the huge statue was about the successions of different empires. The Babylonian Empire was being the gold, the Median Empire being the silver, the Persian Empire being the bronze, and the Hellenistic Empire being the iron. So, for the very first time, King Nebuchadnezzar was intrigued by Daniel's knowledge of the dream the dream that he had about the tall, 90-foot tall foot tall statue, and scratched his head like, wow, he never seen a young man that can explain his dream like this. So as King Nebuchadnezzar listened, he listened carefully to what young Daniel was saying about the different empires. And there's a stone that came out the sky. They're representing a stone that can never be broken, a kingdom that will rule over all kingdoms, a kingdom that will last forever, that will be that all kingdoms will rule under this kingdom. And God explains in the book of Daniel that when young Daniel interprets a dream to King Nebuchadnezzar, that this kingdom that tumbled the statue will be the kingdom that rules over all nations and is unstoppable. So young Daniel spent time with the king explaining to him the meaning of the statue and breaking down the empires of the statue as the other scholars and other musicians listen, and interpreters try to listen to young Daniel, and they just looked impressed by his wisdom and explaining the different empires. You see, the gold represents Babylon, the empire of Babylon, that right now is in a moment at the time when King Nebuchadnezzar ruled. When he's ruling, young Daniel is explaining what the gold represents, and it's representing the top. That's the head of the statue, which represents the gold. And young Daniel is explaining that the Babylon is at its height right now. Babylon is at the top of the empires, and as King Nebuchadnezzar listened, he understand what the gold represented, that he was on top, and right now Babylon rules over all empires at this moment, at this time. And the Median Empire, being the silver, represents the silver in the statue. Between the torso, the chest and torso of the statue is the Median Empire, which is the tough empire that ruled with silver. The Median Empire, Meta, represents Meta. The Median Empire was growing empire, old ancient empire that has a strong army. And then the bronze, no, represents the Persian Empire, the brass empire, Persian Empire, very powerful empire that's growing empire and is a very powerful empire. And who can stop the non-stoppable Persian Empire and the Persian army, which millions of soldiers that in the land of Persia that protects Persia, and their military continues to grow, and the military is unstoppable. And young Daniel explained to King Nebuchadnezzar the Hellenistic Empire represents iron, unbreakable, and they rule with an iron fist. The Hellenistic Empire was the one that's growing, tremendously growing empire that's gonna take over one day and rule the lands, sprout through all the lands and rule for a very long time. And they rule with an iron fist, taking over, defeating, conquering different armies, and ruling different lands and owning different lands by conquering and taking over. And that's the Hellenistic Empire. King Nebuchadnezzar was so impressed with Daniel that he became one of his wise men. Young Daniel became one of his wise men, and King Nebuchadnezzar was also able to cater to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, his companions. So that goes to tell you that you may look at it like, well, I'm in the wrong place. But God has you in a certain place for a reason. And God is making you stay at a position for a reason. And young Daniel didn't know that he was going to get summons to go interpret his dream. Did not know that. Didn't know. But young Daniel was at the right place at the right time. And God gave him the answer. God already, because young Daniel was close to the Lord. And God was able to help young Daniel interpret King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. So when you're put in an area, or sometimes you don't understand why you're at this job for so long, or you don't understand why you're in a certain position, but it's for a reason. It's for a moment. For a reason, for a moment. Because you never know who you could bless. You never know who you could help. Your mission and purpose is just, at that moment, is there for the reason. And young Daniel was there to interpret King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Let's turn to a scripture. Proverbs chapter 16, verses 9. The heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. So you can plan your ways and make your plans, but at the end, of your day, the Lord plans and establishes your steps. And the Lord is the one who establishes your steps and make pathway for you to reach that goal, or you to get to where you gotta go, or you to pursue what you need to pursue. He establishes steps for you. You can have your plans and make your plans. And sometimes when you make your plans, it don't turn out the way you planned it. It just turned out to be a different way. Or you plan something and you've been training for something, but yet you're in a different place. And God have you establish your steps in a different place, in a different area of your life. So when you pray, you make your plans, bring it to the Lord. Let him show you where he wants you to be. Let him reveal to you the purpose he has laid out for you. Many of us are not happy in the positions that we're in, and we're asking God for a breakthrough. We're asking God to see us through and carry us through. And God knows God's timing is everything. And God knows when he has that door set for you to go through. And young Daniel, at that moment in that time, was able to set aside and allow God to use him to interpret King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Not only that, you see, when you're among unbelievers and when you're around people that are not following Christ, he can use that very person to put you in a higher position. Because young Daniel was elevated to be one of the wise men, or elevated to be one of the wise men beside King Nebuchadnezzar. So just be patient and wait on God, and he'll carry you through. It may look grim to you right now, but you'll be smiling when the time comes, because God's timing is everything. And when you wait on the Lord and trust him, he knows what's best to fit you in. He knows what's best he has in store for you. So walk with the Lord today and seek him. Put him first before you do anything else. Now the live word of the day is coming out of Psalms 119, verses 105. Your word is a lamp unto my feet, a light to my path. Well, this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. God bless and be safe out there. Peace and blessings. And if you like what I shared, please smash that like button. Also subscribe to my channel, Zaccheus Gospel. Of course, I got more coming for you. God bless and thank you for sharing your time with me today. Thank you so much, and God bless and be safe out there. Peace and blessings. Until next time.